All right, the biggest difference that I noticed between Black Americans and Africans with this whole conversation about delineation is not how they look, it's how they think. Black Americans are very much community based. That is how they were able to be successful in the civil rights movement. That is how we're able to do economic boycotts and be successful. That is how Black Americans are arguably the most successful and influential Black people in the world. Whereas
It's not really an argument. It's more of a fact.
Africans, they are 54 country, thousands of tribes. They don't see kinship based on blackness. They don't think of you as their brother or sister because of your complexion. And that is the key difference between the two. So you can't expect them to come to America and all of a sudden change their mindset and say, I see this Black American as my brother and sister, somebody I should look out for, somebody I should, like. And because we share a common struggle or we have a common goal, I don't see it as that. It's about me, my tribe, my family, and about us elevating. So this is why people are saying delineation is important, because you have individuals who look like the collective, benefiting off the collective, but they don't have the collective mindset. Black Americans are very much, how is it going to affect the whole? We know we are judged on the whole. Anytime anything happens, like this mass unaliving the other day, and it's a brother, why he have to do us like that? We look at it as a community. Whereas Africans, they say, that's that person. Do not judge everyone. We are not all like that.
I don't know if she's talking about what happened in New York the other day, but I don't think that dude was a Black American. The dude that shot up the stuff in Manhattan or whatever, wherever he was at in New York, I don't think he was Black American in the first place. But she's making a good point as far as this, because this is why a lot of us have an issue when they get into our positions of power in politics. They would never let us go to their countries and get into politics. Can you imagine the president of Ghana being a Black American? I don't know if they even call them presidents over there. I think they do. I think it's other countries where they don't call them presidents or prime ministers, whatever it is. Could you imagine somebody that's the last name Johnson or the last name Edwards or the last name Williams or the last name Smith or the last name Ford or something living in Uganda and becoming the president of Uganda? You think the Ugandan people will be okay with that? You think the South African people will be okay with a Black America running their country? And they shouldn't be okay with it. They should be completely against it. The problem is Pan-Africanists, a lot of Pan-Africans and just people in general know that they wouldn't be okay with that shit. Right? But they're okay with coming over here to our country and being in charge. Kamala Harris is fucking Jamaican. She's not a Black American. But people think it's okay for her to run the country or run Black America. Barack Obama, not a Black American. He ran the country. Could you imagine? He's from Uganda, right? Could you imagine wherever the Barack Obama from? I think he's from Uganda. Could you imagine him? Could you imagine a Black American running Uganda? Do you think they would be okay with that? They would never be okay with that shit. But for whatever reason, we have to be exploited, and we got to have these people coming over to our shit, and they supposed to be in charge of our shit. That shit over with. And then we get looked at as xenophobic, and we get looked at as we hate these people when that's not really that. We want to respect the same way that we respect our shit. We don't go to their countries in mass and get to, infiltrating in their shit. They infiltrate our shit. And if we call it out, we become a problem. We get looked at as, oh, we hate Africans. We just trying to deny Africa. Man, niggas ain't, I don't hate them people. You another man. I don't hate nobody. But you gonna respect shit when you come over here. It just is what it is. They do this all across the world. So it's like, it's only an issue when we do it. It's only a problem when Black Americans want to delineate and say, hey man, we have a say so, and this is gonna be what the say so gonna be. But if everybody else do it, it's cool. Niggas ain't fucking with that shit, man.
That's the first thing we saw is skin color. We didn't look at, there was a shooter who did this, judge that person. We know America is going to look at, that was a Black man. This is what Black people do. Now, another example, this supposed boycott, which no credible Black American even wanted or pushed for, was majority fueled by Africans on the continent. One Black American with very little influence made a post, and Africans on the continent took that as an opportunity to blow something out of a proportion that most people weren't even considering. Many of them don't understand, nor do they care about African businesses in America. They've never been to America, probably won't ever have the opportunity to come to America. So whether or not an African business succeeds or fails, it's of no consequence to them. They're not benefiting from it. So fueling or inciting a boycott doesn't matter. They're just glad to be a part of the conversation. And a lot of it is out of sheer jealousy. Jealousy of the African business and jealousy of the Black American. And I think we have to keep a lot of that in mind when we're reading these posts. We got to put a lot of these things in context. I mean, personally, do not believe you should boycott businesses. But I'll say this, a lot of people have something in their heart because of this conversation.
With the whole boycott thing, man, I'm whatever the family with. I'm whatever my community is with. I don't patronize their businesses at all. I don't buy nothing from Africans. I think I do, and I know a lot of people be taught it's a kind of a conversation that's been happening with African food being nasty. West African food is fucking disgusting. East African food is very good. I've had East African food a couple times. It's very good. But I haven't ate East African food in years. I haven't ate East African food since like 2022. So, I mean, I don't patronize their businesses. But the thing is, if we gonna if we gonna boycott their businesses, I have no issue with it. But we need to have the smoke for everybody else as well, because I think the Black American dollar only revolves around for 6 seconds or 6 minutes or something like that. And I think for every other community in America, it's like 6 hours, it's 6 days or some shit like that. We need to boycott everything, and we need to only support our own. So I'm not stopping at just that part. I think it needs to be across the board. We need to do it as a collective. But I'm with whatever the family with. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it. As long as it's something that makes sense, I'm whatever the family with. So if them people feel, if they not respecting us and we gonna boycott their ass, and today is August 1st, then shit, do it. Like I said, I don't patronize their business anyway, so it ain't mean the shit to me. But my thing is, we need to have this smoke across the board too with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Stop supporting the Chinese man that own that store up the street. Stop supporting the Armenian man that own a 7-Eleven and the Indian man that own a gas station and all that shit. Quick, man, fuck all that. You know what I'm saying? We can do everything on our own like we've been doing. So that's my take on that shit. But let's keep going though. And real quick too, she's talking about the skin color stuff. There should never be unity because of skin color. I'm sorry. It shouldn't be unity solely on skin color, because if we going by that logic, then we would be, okay, well, so what about somebody that's from the Philippines and they dark skin? Should I have unity with them too? What about somebody that's from India and they dark skin? Should I have unity with them too? You know what I'm saying? They got dark skinned Mexicans that's darker than me. Should I have a unity with them too? When you have flat blackness like that and everybody black because they skin color is just dark skin, that's when you really start to, first of all, your argument falls out of place, because we understand that that's not the case, because of you wouldn't call a Filipino, you wouldn't call Manny Pacquiao black. You wouldn't call somebody that's darker than him but black from the Philippines. You know what I'm saying? So what are we addressing this? What are we addressing this on, as far as like, what is the collective gonna be? Because like I said, you wouldn't call an Indian person black. So like, where's this unity shit coming from? It got to be bigger than just the color of your skin, man. That's some bullshit. Like I said, I'm off. I done said it before, I said it again. I'm off the race shit. I'm off of that. Man. Black to me is, I look at that as a tribe. I'm off the race shit. I don't give a about the race shit.
Make sure, I'm gonna just say this. And
I don't give a who don't like what the I just said. You can eat a fucking dick.
Want people messing in your hair or because of this conversation. Make sure, I'm gonna just say this. You don't want people messing in your hair or your food if they have something in their heart against you. Even if you want to go out and support more this business, just be mindful, be careful of doing that. But I don't believe there was no reason to boycott. You have good African businesses and you have bad African business. You can judge those accordingly. Some people absolutely understand and respect the black dollar and have earned the black dollar. Whereas boycott is not necessary. I believe that delineation is necessary. And if anything, the boycott showed many people just how others view Black Americans. But the delineation is necessary to preserve culture, to preserve legacy, to preserve inheritance. Black Americans have a very special right to this land. And we that are here have a duty not to let the ancestors' work go to waste.
I don't know if y'all seen that. I think that came from ChatGPT. If you read that to the bottom, it says African immigrants in the U.S. have the highest level of education among Black groups, education, alignment or solidarity. And we understand that that's not true. And that I've debunked that point so many times. It's not true at all. It's still, that's how you look at numbers and how you manipulate numbers and context.
I want to touch on the whole Caribbeans and Africans. Mm-hmm. Academically and business-wise doing better. Why do you think it is that a country like Jamaica or Africa, where they too have had their deprivations, had their colonialism, had their slavery, why do they go somewhere and tend to excel amongst people who also have gone through it?
Because you're not comparing like with like, that's why.
Okay.
A lot of us think we are comparing like with like. You're not. Let me explain. Generally speaking, Caribbeans in America, not the ones in the Caribbean, but the ones in America, will represent the top 10%.
I see.
So if you're really going to compare like with like, you have to compare the top 10% of Caribbeans with the top 10% of African Americans.
Okay.
And when you compare the two, the African Americans are slaughtering us, bro. It's not even close. It's a massacre. But what it is we compare the top 10% with your average African American. You're not comparing like with like. And if you compare your average African American, you're 51, you got 1 to 100 and Mr. number 51. Number 51 is richer by a factor of 20 than your average Jamaican. Do you see? So what happens is it's a perception thing. Now, let's be clear. We can all point to people from outside America. Go to America and rise. Yeah. Colin Powell did that. Kamala Davy Harris has done that, whatever. But you can't pretend that's typical. Do you see?
Yeah.
But what happens is because we live in a world where people don't really have full pictures, you can take the exception, use that to smack around African Americans' faces. This guy just got off the boat. He's doing better than you. Not realizing, but for my man to have got on the boat in the first place, he wasn't typical of the country that he was coming from. He was in the top echelons of that country. Do you see?
Yeah.
And the same is true also with people from Africa going to Black America. So if we're going to compare the top 10%, let's compare the top 10%. And when we do that, African Americans are slaughtering us.
There are more Black American millionaires than Nigerian millionaires in America. That goes across the board with not only millionaires, that goes to college degrees, that goes to businesses, that goes across the board with everything. They manipulate numbers that way to make it seem like they're doing better when they're really not. They just have the top 10% that come over there from their countries who already come over here. They already come over here with money. They're not coming over here with barefoot. They didn't come over here on a little shanty boat. They came over here with some money. They came over here with already stuff going on. Not to mention they get immigrants grants and loans and they don't even got to pay back. They get funding and all of this international student funds so they can come over and get a scholarship for school. They don't really got to pay for it. They get a lot of that. So when they come over here, they already come over here with benefits and stuff that we don't get. We got to get this shit out the mud. Not to mention they have scholarships and grants and housing and stuff. And you can chat GPT or Google all of this shit. Ain't nothing I'm saying. Ain't no cap in my rap. You can go look up all this shit. They get stuff just based off their lineage. So this is a Nigerian house or an African immigrant housing fund or a Caribbean immigrant or a Jamaican immigrant scholarship fund, just specifically for people who come from that descent. So they delineate even when they come over to America, but it's an issue when we do it because we had a Foundation of Black American Lineage Fund. People have an issue with it. They say it was xenophobic. But the point that I'm making is they're not comparing like with like. That's like an above average. Let's take 30 above average Black American families and then move them to Nigeria. They're going to be doing better than the average Nigerian. So if you take their small percentage of numbers of Black Americans and then be like, well, Black Americans are doing better than Nigerians in Nigeria because, well, they doing better. Well, you talking about the top 10 or 15% of Black Americans who was already at the top level in their country. This other part that says only about 13% of African immigrants identify primarily as Black. Most identify with their nation or tribe. I don't know how true that is. I do know it's true. I'm saying I don't know if it's 13% exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised. It's 100%. How a lot of them feel, and a lot of times they only want to be Black when it's beneficial. So they Black when they can cause something as a negative, or they Black when they want to be cool. But whenever they win in a war, they're the first Nigerian this, they're the first Zimbabwean this. And there's no disrespect to people in if you are any of these countries that I'm naming, it's just an example. If you're not a tether and you don't act like this and you don't do no disrespectful shit towards Black Americans, ain't none of you getting mad for it. This is to the tethers. So a lot of them do shit like that because they know they can get a benefit off of it. But when one of them commits a crime, then they just Black. He's just a Black person because they know that we gonna get the bullshit and the stick on that, which is exactly what she was talking about. Black Americans are 100% American, but with no African nation claiming them. That's the root of the fracture. Yeah, it's so crazy. We supposed to be so African, but we can't go over there and get no citizenship without having some money. The whole Ghana shit missed me with that. You gotta have money, you gotta have stuff going on. And Ghanaians don't even want people in their homeland anyway, which they shouldn't. Ghanaians are delineating right now. So you can't, we don't have citizenship in none of those places. And it's so crazy. My thing with Africa and the Pan-Africanness and all this shit is, if they love us so much and they want us to come home so much, and that's the homeland, well, where are the reparations at? A lot of those countries, they got all type of millions and billions of dollars worth of resources and money and wealth. Why they don't give us that? I'm curious. If it's all about the motherland and it's all about all us coming together, and we got so much wealth over here in America and they got so much wealth over there in Africa, we can come together as a community, our black dollar, and add it on to them. Well, the thing is, y'all should be giving us some of that wealth. So create something over there. They haven't created anything for us over there to go to without us putting our money into it. They ain't did shit. Them leaders over there are corrupt as f***, and they pocketing all that money and then taking that shit and bullshitting it around. And they don't even care. Them leaders and them people in the power don't even care about the people in that country. So what the f*** make you think they could care about your black ass? Nigga, your name Demetrius Jackson. You don't give a f*** about your black ass, nigga. You don't give a f*** about you, nigga. He don't care. Ain't nothing wrong with your name being Demetrius Jackson. Shout out to the niggas in here named Demetrius Jackson. I don't know some of y'all niggas that name. Anyway, the point that I'm making is, he don't give a about them people don't give a about foundational black America. They don't give a about you, nigga. You an outsider. They don't even care about their homeland. So what the make you think they care about you, nigga? You a goofy.
Land. And we that are here have a duty not to let the ancestors' work go to waste.
No, for sure.